Discover the incredible, heartwarming ways plants form bonds, unbelievable connections exposed. Emily Johnson stood before the crumbling remnants of her father's greenhouse, her heart racing as memories flooded in. This place had once bloomed with color and life, nurtured by her father's careful hands. Now, vines choked the entrance and shattered glass glimmered like fallen stars. She could almost hear her father's warm laughter echoing within its walls, urging her to uncover what lay hidden beneath the neglected soil. After a painful separation from her husband, this was the one remnant of stability she desperately needed. With her spirited daughter, Lily, tugging at her side, Emily felt an overwhelming urge to breathe life back into this forgotten sanctuary. "Can we fix it, Mama?" Lily's wide eyes sparkled with hope. Emily smiled, though doubt gnawed at her heart. Could she really turn this wreckage into something beautiful again? As days turned into weeks, Emily dug her hands into the dirt, planting seeds of hope. Each tiny sprout that pushed through the soil felt like a personal triumph, each leaf unfurling brought a smile to her face. This was her father's legacy, and restoring it was a way to mend the fractures in her life. It was therapy in dirt and sun, healing every broken piece of her spirit. But the town's usual gentle hum faded into whispers. "Can she even do this?" they murmured, exchanging skeptical glances. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Slowly, the greenhouse transformed, drawing neighbors in with the promise of community gardening events. Laughter filled the air like sunlight breaking through clouds. Emily felt the tender roots of friendships forming, reminding her of the importance of connection. The plants weren't just growing, so was her spirit. In shared moments over soil-stained hands and exchanged gardening tips, walls came down, and hearts opened up. But trouble brewed beyond the fragrance of rich earth. A new figure entered their picturesque town, a wealthy newcomer with ambitious plans for gentrification. Suddenly, the town was at a crossroads. Voices of excitement clashed against murmurs of resistance. Emily's heart raced, torn between the allure of new opportunities and a fierce loyalty to her neighbors. Would they strengthen their community, or let shiny promises of wealth divide them? Standing at the helm of this brewing storm, Emily felt the weight of expectation. Could she rally her neighbors to remember the strength found in unity? With each passing day, the stakes rose, her fears mixing with determination as debates ignited. She knew that with every seed she nurtured, something deeper was at play, a reminder that healing can sprout even in the most unforgiving of places. The upcoming community meeting was set to decide their fate. Tensions were high, and uncertainty buzzed like bees around the blossoming garden. As Emily imagined standing before her neighbors, urging them to hold on to their roots, thoughts of her daughter's bright smile flickered in her mind. Could she truly inspire others to forge connections strong enough to weather any storm? Just as she prepared to share her vision, the air thickened with anticipation. The door creaked open. The community was about to face revelations that could alter their lives forever. The heart-stopping question loomed: who would blossom, and who would fade away? Emily's heart raced as she stepped forward into the community meeting, the weight of her neighbors' gazes pressing on her shoulders. The dim room was packed, faces she recognized, each etched with a mixture of hope and skepticism. The air thickened with a tension she could almost taste. Would her dream of revival echo in their hearts or drown in the fear of change? A tall man, impeccably dressed and radiating confidence, stood at the front. He was the newcomer David Finch. His voice was smooth, enticing as he laid out his vision for the town. He spoke of modern developments and a booming economy, painting a vibrant picture that glimmered like the glass panes Emily had cleaned just days ago. "We need to embrace progress," he emphasized, his eyes scanning the crowd, looking for allies. "Together, we can build a brighter, busier community." Emily clenched her fists, feeling the heat swell in her chest as murmurs of agreement rippled through the audience. People nodded, eyes shining with ambition. Would they really trade their heritage for the allure of shiny new buildings and businesses? David's vision could bring jobs, one of her neighbors declared, raising a hand. We need that, especially now. Others chimed in, swayed by the promise of prosperity. Or we could lose what makes this town special, Emily said, fighting back the tremor in her voice. Silence fell like a heavy curtain. She took a deep breath, willing her shaking heart to calm. This greenhouse, she gestured behind her, is more than a building. It's a haven, a reminder of our roots. It shows us what can grow from love and dedication. Eyes shifted, some unblinkingly focused on her, while others darted away. She felt Lily squeeze her hand, grounding her with a reminder of everything at stake. Why can't we have both? Emily pushed on, her voice becoming steadier. We can embrace new ideas, but we can also remember the strength found in our connections. Like the roots of these plants, she continued, her heart racing, they intertwine and support each other. We are stronger together. Just then, a woman with hair streaked with gray raised her hand. Emily's right, she said, her voice gentle but firm. We can't allow shiny promises to blind us. I've seen too many places lose their character chasing after more. The room buzzed with renewed energy, weaving through doubt and possibility. Emily watched as conversations ignited a mix of hope and fervent discussions, building bridges that had once seemed fragile. David Finch stood back, his confident facade slipping just a bit. What about progress? He challenged, visibly irritated. You can't hold on to memories, not when there's money to be made. Emily felt the tremor in her own resolve sharpen. Was it really just about money? What was a community without its heart? With a look at Lily, she pressed on, the stirring inside her now aflame. Progress is about understanding our roots, too. We owe it to the next generation not just to build but to keep the spirit alive. The air thick with hope and uncertainty twisted as David glared, the tension crackling like static. With each word exchanged, Emily felt a shift, a chance to fight for what truly mattered. As the meeting progressed, and a vote was proposed, her heart pounded in alignment with the hope of her neighbors. Would they band together to protect their home? But just when everything seemed to stand on the edge of clarity, a stranger rose from the back of the room, a shadowy figure that had been lurking, watching. You all don't know the half of it, he declared, his voice low but filled with stern warning. This isn't just about buildings. An uneasy silence fell over the meeting. Emily's heart raced with nervous anticipation. What revelation could possibly emerge that would change everything? The stranger's voice hung in the air, a chilling shroud over the gathering. His weathered face reflected years of hardship, and his eyes flickered with something deeper, an urgency that made the hairs on the back of Emily's neck stand up. What do you mean? Emily managed to ask, her voice a mix of curiosity and dread. The room was silent, anticipation thick enough to slice. The man stepped forward, the soft shuffling of his feet accentuating the tension. You think this is just about a new development? It's about control. It's about the very soul of this town. Some in the room shifted uneasily, while others leaned in, hanging on to his words. When I moved here decades ago, we had a strong community. But slowly, it began to change. New faces, new rules, money drove us apart. David Finch is here to finish the job. David, now visibly agitated, crossed his arms, a frown deepening on his brow. That's not true. I just want to help. We need growth. Growth at what cost? The stranger fired back, his voice rising with emotion. Will you sell out for profit and let the essence of your town slip away? Emily felt a wave of determination surge within her. This was it. The moment she had been waiting for. What do you want us to know? She asked the stranger, her heart pounding. You'll need to look beneath the surface, he replied, glancing around the room. This isn't simply about buildings or jobs. Decisions made behind closed doors can endanger everything you cherish. Those colorful lights and shiny storefronts can blind you. A murmur ran through the crowd, doubt creeping into the optimistic chatter. Emily could feel it, the collective questioning of their own choices. She understood the pain of watching a beloved town change, a painful twist in her stomach. What can we do? She whispered, almost to herself. Stay united. The man urged, his voice rising passionately. Talk to each other. Share stories. You're all part of something bigger. Don't let anyone tear you apart. The room buzzed with energy, the gravity of his words igniting a fire Emily hadn't expected. They had the power to protect their home. But the unknown weighed heavily on her heart. David Finch stood there, his poised exterior starting to crack under the pressure. Don't listen to him, David stepped forward, his tone sharp. He's spreading fear. If you want jobs and prosperity, you must move forward. You're letting nostalgia cloud your judgment. Emily's pulse quickened. Was she really advocating for nostalgia? Or was it more than that? Was it about love? About family? Everything she held dear? David, she said, her voice steady as she stepped closer, what kind of community do we want to build? Can we really thrive if we're disconnected from our roots? A soft gasp came from Lily's corner, and she squeezed Emily's hand tighter. The air shimmered with tension, the scent of determination rising. David appeared momentarily taken aback, perhaps for the first time doubting his approach. He stammered, as the walls of confidence around him began to crack. The stranger leaned back, watching the exchange with a glimmer of hope in his tired eyes. Emily stood tall, the weight of those gazes now lifting her. But suddenly, the door at the back of the room swung open. A young man burst in, out of breath, panic etched across his face. You all need to hear this. It's worse than we thought. A cold chill ran through Emily as she and everyone else turned toward the entrance. What could be worse than what they had just heard? An icy fear settled in, and Emily sensed an impending storm. What secrets lay ahead that could shake the town to its core? The young man, Lucas, stood at the entrance, his chest heaving as he struggled to catch his breath. The room fell silent, every gaze fixed on him. A sense of urgency radiated from him, palpable and raw. What do you mean? Emily pressed, fear creeping into her voice. What's worse? Lucas wiped the sweat from his brow, his eyes wide. It's the developers, they've teamed up with someone powerful. They're not just interested in the town square. There are plans to build a strip mall on Elm Street. And they're moving fast. Emily's heart raced. Elm Street? That was where the old library stood, a place full of memories. She could feel the weight of history in her chest, the laughter of children, the whispers of stories read aloud. They've already started buying up small plots, Lucas continued, his voice shaky but determined. If we don't act fast, it'll be gone before we know it. The murmur began again, louder this time. Fear mixed with disbelief washed over the crowd. David's frown deepened, but Emily saw something else in his eyes, a flicker of concern. This is insane, one woman shouted from the back. Who are we even fighting against? We need to know. Lucas's eyes darted around the room. That's just it. We don't know yet. But the mayor's office is involved. I overheard them talking about special deals. They're keeping this secret. Emily felt her pulse quicken. We can't let this happen. If they take Elm Street, that's a piece of us gone. We need to do something. The stranger stepped forward, his presence commanding attention once more. Uniting isn't just about talk. You need to take action. Gather information, reach out to others. Find out what's happening behind those closed doors. The room buzzed with renewed energy, but it was tinged with fear. Emily glanced at Lily, who was now visibly worried, her brow furrowed deeply. Are we really prepared for a battle like this? Lily asked softly, a hint of doubt in her voice. What if we fail? Emily reached out, squeezing her friend's hand. We won't fail if we stand together. We have the community's heart on our side. We have each other. That's right, David said suddenly, his voice gaining strength. We can create a resistance. I might not have all the answers, but we can pull resources together. If the town fights back together, maybe we can stop them. A wave of hope washed over the crowd, followed by murmurs of agreement. They began to stand taller, their resolve solidifying. But just as Emily felt the warmth of hope blossom within her, Lucas's expression shifted to one of alarm. But we have to be careful, he warned, looking around the room. If they catch wind of our plans, it could get ugly. This isn't just about buildings. It's about power, and they won't go down easily. The weight of his words settled heavily in the air. The resolve in the room was palpable, but so was the tension. As they began to discuss plans, Emily sensed that the true fight was just beginning. The stranger nodded approvingly, his eyes alight with a fire that resonated with her spirit. She felt a flicker of hope igniting within her. But would it be enough? With a steely determination, she looked around the room, the faces of her neighbors and friends bonding into a tapestry of strength. This was not just a fight for a piece of land or a building, it was a fight for their story, their essence. As the meeting came to a close, the stranger leaned toward Emily. You must watch carefully. There are more than buildings at stake here. His cryptic words sent shivers down her spine. What other threats lurked in the shadows, hidden in the whispers of power? And just as the crowd began to disperse, an ear-piercing ring broke through the silence. A call from David's phone. He answered, frowning as the color drained from his face. David? Emily felt her heart drop. What's wrong? It's the mayor. David's voice trailed off, jaw tightening. We need to meet, now. Emily's breath hitched. What was coming next? The sense of impending danger loomed over them like a storm cloud, dark and heavy. She could only wonder, was their fight just beginning? The room was buzzing with uncertainty as they all turned to David, waiting for clarification. Emily's heart pounded in her chest, her thoughts racing. What could the mayor possibly want that couldn't wait? She exchanged glances with Lucas and Lily, whose eyes mirrored her escalating anxiety. Okay, we'll meet him, David finally said, clearing his throat. Let us stay calm and figure this out together. The fervor in his voice felt strangely out of place amid the tension that hung in the air. The community center was just a short walk from the mayor's office. As they stepped outside, the cool evening air brushed against Emily's warm cheeks, a sharp contrast to the swirling heat of fear inside her. The sky hung low, a blanket of gray clouds, thick with the promise of rain. Do you think he knows what we're planning? Lucas asked, his brow furrowed. What if he's here to shut us down? Emily could see the doubt in his eyes. Then we must be ready to stand our ground. Her voice felt stronger than she expected it to be, buoyed by the sense of unity building among her friends. If we stand together, we can't be ignored. As they reached the office, Emily noted the flickering lights inside, illuminating the dim pathway ahead. David approached the entrance first, knocking on the heavy door. It creaked open, revealing the mayor's assistant. You're all here. The mayor has been waiting, she said curtly. They filed inside, the tension thick as molasses, the atmosphere heavy with unspoken words. The mayor sat at a large oak desk, files strewn about, a look of concern etched into his features. Emily noticed how the clock on the wall ticked louder than usual, each chime echoing in the stillness. Thank you for coming so quickly, the mayor said, his tone serious. I've heard disturbing rumors about your meeting. David stepped forward, his shoulders squared. We're defending our community. We won't let Elm Street be taken away from us. Listen, the mayor began with a sigh, I'm not here to threaten you. Then why don't you start by telling us what is happening? Lucas interrupted angrily, stepping closer to the desk. Emily felt the heat radiating from him, a fire that matched her own boiling frustration. The mayor held up his hands defensively. There are forces at work here that you don't fully understand. This isn't just about Elm Street. The developers know how to play the game, and they've got connections. Like with you? Emily spat, unable to contain her anger. The mayor's expression softened. I want to help you, but I need you to understand something important. The developers are backed by powerful money interests. People who won't hesitate to crush anyone who stands in their way. Emily could hear the collective breath of the group hitch in response to the mayor's words, a tangible tension filling the room. So what can we do? Lily asked hesitantly, her voice small but steady. I can try to buy time, the mayor said reluctantly. But you need to gather your own evidence. Reach out to the community. Spread the word. If you can mobilize public support, you'll have a better chance of making your case. Emily glanced at Lucas and David, feeling the weight of the mayor's advice settle deep within her. We're going to do it, she affirmed, her heart racing with newfound determination. This is our home. The mayor nodded, an approving glance towards her. Just be careful. There's a fine line between fighting for what you love and inciting a war. Keep your eyes open. As they left the office, a mixture of fear and exhilaration coursed through Emily. They were on a perilous path, but they had rallied for a cause that mattered, one that spoke to the very essence of their community. Suddenly, David's phone buzzed again. He looked at the screen and cursed under his breath. We have to go. The developers are already staging a meeting downtown tonight. Emily felt a chill run down her spine. What if they're planning to announce their project? Then we'll be there to stop them, Lucas declared. With urgency propelling them forward into the gathering dusk, Emily realized that their battle was approaching faster than they could have ever imagined. They were no longer just defending their history, they were fighting for their future. Would it be enough to stand against the shadow of power looming over them? The streets were alive with a restless energy as Emily, David, Lucas, and Lily rushed toward the downtown area. The usual sounds of chatter and laughter had faded, replaced by a heavy sense of anticipation. Their footsteps echoed on the pavement, quickening as they neared the venue where the developers were gathering. Emily could feel the weight of her heart as it thudded loudly in her chest. What if we're too late? She gasped, stealing what felt like a final glance at the darkening sky. We won TB, David reassured her, a determined light in his eyes. We have to believe in what we're fighting for. We have to show them we're serious. As they approached the building, they could see the developers through the large glass windows, mingling with city officials. The atmosphere inside was deceptively calm. Emily's stomach twisted with dread. She could already see their lifeless blueprints lying across the table, ready to be unveiled. Let us get inside, Lucas whispered, excitement lacing his voice with a hint of fear. We can record everything. Once inside, they huddled together, their presence small amidst the crowd. Emily's heart raced, beating in rhythm with the urgency of the moment. We shouldn't draw attention, Lily advised, her face a mask of concentration. Let us listen first. Taking a deep breath, they positioned themselves behind a column, casting cautious glances at the ongoing conversation. The developers spoke in hushed tones, their words dripping with corporate jargon that felt foreign and intimidating. Emily couldn't shake the feeling that they were plotting a way to dismantle everything she held dear. Suddenly, a deep voice boomed from the front. Ladies and gentlemen, it was the lead developer, a man in a crisp suit who oozed confidence. We're here to share an exciting opportunity that will pave the way for progress in our city. This project will transform Elm Street into a premier destination. Emily felt a surge of anger flood through her. No, she whispered furiously. They're trying to sell this as progress when it's destruction. Lucas' hand tightened on her shoulder. We need to disrupt this meeting, he urged, but before she could respond, the lead developer continued. This project will include luxury condos, a shopping center, and a revitalized park. We know this might bring some challenges? You mean displacement? David shouted, his voice abruptly slicing through the crowd's murmurs. Emily's heart raced as all heads turned toward them, eyes wide with surprise. What do you think you're doing? One of the city officials stepped forward, a frown deepening on his face. We're here to protect our home. Emily shouted, stepping out beside David, emboldened by his bravery. Elm Street isn't just a place for buildings. It's our community, our memories. The tension crackled in the air as they stood their ground, hearts pounding in unison. For every moment of fear there was an equal rush of courage. What is going on? The lead developer assessed their presence with a mixture of irritation and disbelief. The room felt electric, the air thick with uncertainty. Emily could see faces in the crowd shifting from curiosity to concern. If they could tap into that, if they could invoke even a flicker of doubt in the developer's plans, they might just have a chance. You all have the power to change this, she pressed, her voice rising shakily but with conviction. You can stand with us or let our community be destroyed. It's our choice. David nodded. Join us. We can show them who really matters in this city. As murmurs rippled through the audience, a glimmer of support began to emerge from the shadows. Emily felt hope swirl around them, a fragile light that could lead to something bigger. But just as momentum began to shift, the lead developer slammed his hand on the table, voice booming. This isn't up for public debate. Emily felt a jolt of fear, but she stood tall. What she didn't expect, though, was the way people started to stir. Whispers turned into questions, and the tide of emotion began to swell. Would the community rally behind them, or would fear from those in power stifle their fight before it could even truly begin? The crowd hesitated, caught between the rush of Emily and David's defiance and the cold authority of the developers. Emily's heart pounded as she watched the faces around her, eyes wide with uncertainty and curiosity. Are you really going to let them bulldoze our homes? A voice called from the back. It was a middle-aged woman, her brow furrowed with concern. What about the families that live in Elm Street? We can't let them do this. A ripple of agreement followed her words. Emily felt a rush of adrenaline. Maybe they could turn this around after all. The lead developer, clearly rattled, regained his composure. You're misunderstanding the vision we have for this project, he replied, his tone condescending. This is for the greater good. It's progress. Progress for who? David shot back. Not for the people who built their lives here. This community is more than land and buildings, it's about the connections we've made. Yes. Lucas chimed in, the fire in his voice growing hotter. What you call progress looks an awful lot like destruction to us. The murmurs grew louder, spreading through the crowd like wildfire. Encouraged, Emily stepped forward, feeling a mix of fear and purpose. Think about everything we'll lose. Elm Street has history. It's where we grew up, made memories, found a neighborhood that feels like home. Can we just give that up? With each word, she could see the doubts growing in the developers' faces. A man near the back shouted, I've lived here my whole life. This can't happen. The more the crowd chimed in, the more Emily felt their strength solidify into something powerful, a collective heartbeat against the looming threat. The developers' carefully curated facade started to crack as the community's fury came together, rising like a tide. But just as victory felt within reach, the lead developer's voice sliced through the air again, sharper than before. We will not tolerate this insubordination. He straightened his suit and surveyed the room, as if daring anyone to challenge him. What happens next? A frightened voice from the crowd quivered. If we stand up to them, what will they do? We fight. David shouted, stepping forward to face the developer directly. We stand together. We make them listen. His fiery determination was contagious. People began to nod, their worries overshadowed by a newfound conviction. Emily's heart soared. This wasn't just a moment, it was becoming a movement. She scanned the faces around her, each one kindling a spark of hope. Let us take our voices to the streets. She cried. Let us unite and show them we won't back down. The crowd roared with approval. Emily felt buoyant, as if floating above a storm. They were done being silenced, they had enough. But as cheers erupted around her, Emily's heart dropped when she caught sight of a security team in the entrance, bouncers in dark suits with earpieces, eyeing the rallying crowd. Panic rippled through her. Would they try to shut them down? Is that how this began and ended, with fear? The voice of the lead developer rang out again, this time with a sinister edge. We will not be intimidated. If you think you can stop this, you are sorely mistaken. Emily gulped, her stomach twisted with dread. This was no longer just a disagreement, it was escalating. Would they really stand their ground against powerful forces? Would their courage be enough to make a difference? Questions buzzed in her mind as the tension thickened in the room, ready to snap. All eyes were on her and David now. The future of Elm Street hung in the balance. Could they truly lead this unexpected charge? And what would the consequences be if they did? Emily took a deep breath, the air heavy with tension and determination. She could feel the energy of the crowd pulsing around her, a living, breathing entity ready to fight for their home. She glanced at David, whose eyes burned with a fierce light. They were in this together. Listen! She shouted, cutting through the chaos that threatened to drown them. What they're proposing isn't just about tearing down buildings. It's about ripping apart our lives, our stories. The crowd fell silent for a fleeting moment, the weight of her words settling in. Faces turned to her, eyes glistening with emotion, fear mingling with a flicker of hope. She continued, her voice steady. We are the heartbeat of Elm Street. Each of us has a voice, a story, a reason to fight. We cannot let them take this away. As if ignited by her words, more voices rang out, each one affirming the need to protect their homes. Remember summer barbecues on the corner? The Halloween parades? Those late-night talks on porches? An elderly man's voice rose above the rest, shaking but clear. This is where I taught my kids resilience. It's where we build our future. The crowd began to chant, an echo of her sentiments growing louder. Save Elm Street. Save our homes. It was a chorus of unity, something that shifted the atmosphere in the room, rallying more hearts to their cause. Emily's pulse quickened. But as the sound swelled, the lead developer took a threatening step forward, his face etched with irritation. This is your last chance. You can either walk away peacefully or face repercussions. His tone dripped with the kind of power that sent shivers through the crowd, but Emily felt a rush of defiance blazing through her, like a warm fire in her chest. Repercussions? She repeated, her voice rising above the clamor. What are repercussions to them? They can't take our spirits. They can't bulldoze our memories. Her resolve solidified, her words cutting through the fear. The lead developer narrowed his eyes, frustration bubbling beneath his polished facade. But behind him, the security team began to shift uneasily, as if sensing the strength growing within the crowd. Emily caught a glance from Lucas, and in that fleeting moment, she knew they could stand their ground. Then, just as hope began to swell, a loud crash echoed through the room, making everyone jump. The door swung open, and a group of community members burst in, carrying a banner that read "No justice, no peace." Cheers erupted, the energy surging like a thrill across the gathering. They had allies. Emily felt a surge of exhilaration course through her. They were not alone, more were joining the fight. But her heart sank when she noticed the security team advancing, purposefully moving in their direction, their faces grim, ready to silence the uprising. Stay strong. David called out, stepping ahead of Emily, an anchor amid the storm. We keep moving. We keep fighting. Tension crackled in the air as the developers and security took their positions, but the crowd stood together, resolute. Emily's voice rose again, cutting through the fear. Together, we're unstoppable. But what would they lose in this fight? Would their voices be enough to spark real change? The question hung in the air, thick and heavy. As the tension escalated, with the future of Elm Street teetering on the brink, Emily knew one thing: this battle was just beginning. Would they bend, or could love for their homes and community ignite an unstoppable force? Emily felt the electric charge in the air, the thick tension wrapping around the crowd like a shroud. As people pressed forward, their chant became a steady heartbeat: Save Elm Street. Save our homes. Each person added their strength, merging into a united front that could no longer be ignored. But the developers weren't backing down. The lead developer's lips curled into a taut smile, a dagger behind the facade. "This is the last time I will say it. Disperse peacefully or suffer the consequences." His voice was like ice, cutting through the chanting, attempting to slice away their resolve. In that moment, fear gripped at Emily's heart. What were those consequences? Would anyone get hurt? Just as she opened her mouth to respond, David raised his fist, a gesture of defiance, and yelled, "We won. Back down. This is our home, our community. You're threatening." His voice carried an unshakable conviction that rippled through the crowd, making heads turn. It didn't just amplify her own feelings, it solidified the foundation beneath them. Farther back, a woman stepped forward, tears in her eyes. "I raised my children here. I won't let anyone take that away." Her voice wavered, but she stood tall, embodying the spirit of so many who had invested their lives in this community. Emily felt her stomach twist. It wasn't just about the buildings, it was about legacy, love, and heart. She pushed her way to the front, emboldened by the voices behind her. "Look at us," she shouted, gesturing wide. "This isn't just another project. This is our home, our history woven into every brick, every child's laughter. You can't just demolish who we are." Cheers rumbled through the crowd, a wave of unity washing over them. But it was a quickly diminishing wave. The developer's security team had finally reached them, and the crowd's adrenaline surged as the gap widened. "Time for you all to learn your place." One burly guard barked, arms crossed over a muscular chest. He stepped towards them, brandishing a threat as if it were a badge of honor. "Is this how you want to be remembered?" Emily shouted over the noise, eyes wide, heart racing. "Tearing families apart for a profit? You're better than this." For a brief second, it seemed the guard hesitated, a flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. But the lead developer spoke again, sharper than a whip. "Go ahead. Call the police. Let us see how many of you stand your ground when it's more than just angry words being thrown around." Panic snaked through the crowd as each face turned pale, the depth of what was happening sinking in. They were standing on a precipice, ready to leap into the unknown, but what lay at the bottom? Would they truly fight back? And just as Emily felt the tide of fear sucking her under, a voice rang out from the back. It was an older woman, her hair silver like the moonlight. "Together. We'll fight together." She uplifted, her call cutting through the trepidation, reigniting the spark that had brought them here. The crowd roared once more, invigorated. Emily squeezed David's hand, feeling the warmth of his resolve resonate within her. Together, she repeated, letting the words reinforce her strength. But in a split second, the guards surged forward, finally taking action. Emily's heart raced. This was it. Would they scatter? Or could they stand firm? That moment of decision held the weight of their future. As fists clenched and spirits soared, she whispered to herself the line that had become her mantra, "We're unstoppable." Yet where would this newfound courage lead them? Would it be enough to face the looming enforcers? In the chaos, uncertainty flooded her mind, but she had to fight. What were they willing to risk? As those moments ticked away, the air heavy with the promise of impending action, Emily had to ask herself, would they emerge united, or would fear tear them apart at the seams? The energy in the room swelled as the security team marched closer, the tension palpable. Emily's heart raced, but she stood her ground, feeling the warmth of her community at her back. "We're not going anywhere," she shouted, her voice rising above the chaos. "We stand united." The gathering erupted into cheers again, a powerful anthem that echoed off the walls. Solidarity flowed through the crowd, binding them like the roots of a resilient tree. "Don't let fear scatter us," David called out, his voice ringing with conviction. "We know what we stand for." Each cheer built the momentum, swirling into a collective roar that filled the room with purpose. But the lead developer's eyes narrowed, anger flaring. "Enough of this. You think you can stop progress?" He sneered. His facade was cracking, the tension was working against him. Emily could see cracks in the defenses of the suited corporate men, fear flickering in their eyes. Progress? Lucas shouted, stepping forward. Is that what you call stealing our homes? Taking away our history? A wave of agreement washed over the crowd, people nodding, murmuring their shared sentiment. Emily felt her resolve solidify among the voices around her. This wasn't just a building, a project, or land, it was a community, a family. Then the unlikely happened. A few young people from the back surged forward, brandishing banners and signs they had hastily crafted. Each sign shouted slogans like "Save our elm" and "Protect our families." Encouragement spilled from Emily's heart. They were unfurling their hopes like flowers reaching for sunlight. Who are we fighting for? A teenage girl cried out, her voice steady. For our summer hangouts? For our friends? For our families? A powerful cheer greeted her statements, a heartbeat reverberating through the assembly once more. The developers' eyes shifted nervously. Perhaps they hadn't expected such passion. And Emily sensed it, this might be their turning point. Together, we have the power to make our voices heard, she urged, stepping atop a nearby bench to elevate herself. We won't stand idly by when they're trying to bulldoze our memories. Cheers erupted again, swelling into a tidal wave of spirit. Emily's heart soared, hope ignited a fire among them all. They were breathing life back into their dreams like the seedlings bursting through the earth after a long, cold winter. Protect our home. The chant took hold, echoing back at them. One of the guards took a step closer, eyes wide as uncertainty flickered across his face. This was not the riot he'd been led to expect. Let them through. The lead developer sneered. They're no threat. With newfound momentum, the crowd surged forward, emboldened by shared history, fueled by love for their community. It was as if a dam had broken, unleashing the flood of solidarity that had long dwelled beneath the surface. As they marched forward, Emily locked eyes with David, her heart racing with adrenaline and hope. He was right there beside her, an unwavering force. Together, they were stronger, together, they could fight for what was right. Just then, the mayor's voice broke through. I'll give you an audience, he called out, stepping into the fray as tension swirled around them. If we sit down and talk, if you're prepared to use your voices constructively, I'm willing to listen. A hush swept over the crowd. Emily's heart thrummed, a flicker of possibility ignited like a light breaking through darkness. Let us hear what they have to say, she said, her voice steady despite the rushing adrenaline. Together? David echoed. Let us sit down and face this head-on. No more talking behind closed doors. Emily added, lifting her voice for emphasis. We deserve a place at this table. One by one, the community stepped forward, drawn by Emily's resolve. The fear among them slowly faded. Faces once uncertain now glimmered with newfound courage, and they rallied together as a cohesive unit, an unbreakable chain rooted in love for Elm Street. Rising above the chaos, Emily felt the rush of something profound, the connection, the love, the spirit of fighting for their family, their home. They were no longer individuals, they were a community, bonded by purpose, ready to turn fear into strength. And in that moment, she knew the truth. No matter how powerful the forces arrayed against them, they had something that couldn't be bought, bartered, or bulldozed. Their stories, their hearts, these were alive and breathing, flourishing like the plants she'd nurtured in the greenhouse, connecting them all. The tides had shifted, and the conversation was about to change. With every word exchanged and each shared story, they would weave together a brighter future. As they prepared to step into that dialogue with the mayor and tackle the developers, Emily held hope close. Their voices, their unity would blossom into action. No longer afraid of shadows, they would come out into the light, growing together in the fight for Elm Street's future, hand in hand and heart to heart. This was just the beginning. Now, if you enjoyed this journey of resilience and community growth, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel. Don't wait not even one more second. Hit that bell to not miss the next exclusive stories that will inspire you even more. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help our message reach those who need it. Your support matters. And don't forget to comment below your reactions and feelings about this ending. We'd love to hear from you. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation and know that they can fight for their dreams. This is the moment to show your support. We are all in this together.